Today's post is titled Finding Masculinity in the Most Unlikely Place. Every boy is trying to find it. Every young man is trying to capture it. Every man is trying to own it. It's that elusive quality of masculinity. On first glance, men usually think about this as acquiring certain skills or abilities associated with masculinity. But it's deeper than that. It's deeper than a man's behavior or abilities. Masculinity is the spring, the foundational spring, out of which the river of his life is to flow. Yet that spring has become clogged or choked off for so many. For others, it's just completely dry. Generationally, boys found something of that elusive quality as they grew up with their fathers in the company of men. But in our modern age, that has by and large been excised. From an early age, boys are separated from their fathers. They go to school while the dads go to work. The cultural disintegration of the family has only added to this excision. Young men are tossed out into the washing machine of the world without markers or mentors. Left to fend for themselves, they wander from job to job. They drift in and out of relationships. They try to find their center in another woman or in another man, and yet come to feel more and more disoriented. They are cut off from their masculinity, looking at it from the outside, compulsively trying to find a way to get in. The pain of this estrangement drives them to porn or drugs or abusive behavior or just giving up. The tragedy of this all is that their masculinity continues to elude them. But what seems lost is not lost forever. There is one sure place a man may go to find his masculinity, yet it is such an unlikely place that most do not even consider it. It is another spring whose water is never clogged or choked off, water that is clear and clean, brisk and bright, always fresh and flowing. It's the spring of living water. It's Jesus himself. The one man who was truly a man came to initiate a new race of men. He is the pioneer of a new humanity, a trailblazer of a new race, and he is at the head, leading the charge. When a man chooses to follow Jesus, something without parallel happens. He is now in Christ, and stranger still, Christ is in him. This is no ethereal idea. It's a living reality. The muscular soul of Jesus comes to reside in you. The flaming heart of Jesus comes to live in you. The fearless voice of Jesus comes to dwell in you. His arms become your arms. His hands become your hands. His mind becomes your mind. And his masculinity becomes yours as well. This is the healing of a man's soul. But how does this happen? In another most unlikely place. It happens in the secrets of a man's soul that he carefully guards from others. It happens in those places in his story which he has been running from, places full of loss and guilt and shame. It is in these very places that Jesus comes to dwell, in all of a man's weakness, foolishness, and shame. He does something there inconceivable. He turns them into strength and wisdom and glory. In doing so, he gives a man back his masculinity. I know this to be true because this is my story. It's also the story of men with whom I am now walking. The resurrected Jesus is alive and well and on the move. His presence is our salvation. It's also our masculinity.